Throughout history, humans have been fascinated by the mysteries of the distant past. Across the globe, remnants of past civilizations provide clues to their incredible achievements, and nowhere is this more evident than in China. Here, a wealth of mega-structures, from pyramids and quarries to caves, push the boundaries of what we believed was possible for ancient engineering. These extraordinary feats, almost beyond belief, continue to amaze and inspire. Join us in this video as we uncover 9 breathtaking megastructures from China's rich history. Number 9. The Chinese Pyramids. Hidden for centuries, the Chinese pyramids are still largely unknown to most people, even within China. These ancient structures are scattered across the central plains and deserts, mostly in Shanxi province. The Chinese government has placed strict restrictions on any excavation or visits to these pyramids, making them hard to access or study. Local farmers are even encouraged to plant trees on top of them to keep them out of sight. So far, over 200 pyramids have been found, but their real purpose and origins are still a mystery. What makes them even harder to understand is not just the government's control, but also the physical barriers surrounding them. The first time the Western world heard about these pyramids was in 1912, when a travel agent named Fred Meyer Schroeder reported seeing large pyramid-like structures in the area. However, they didn't gain much attention until the middle of the 20th century. During World War II, an American pilot named James Gaussman flew over the region and took photos of these pyramids, sparking more interest. But it wasn't until satellite technology became more common that people really started to grasp just how many pyramids were there and how big they were. Like other pyramids around the world, the Chinese pyramids are carefully placed. Their corners line up almost perfectly with the Earth's main directions: north, south, east, and west. Astronomers also noticed that the pyramids are a bit off from the stars in the Gemini constellation. They almost lined up exactly during the spring equinox many thousands of years ago. This small shift, around 14 degrees, is likely due to Earth's axis slowly wobbling over time. This process, called axial precession, takes about 25,700 years to complete a full cycle. Because of this, it's possible that these pyramids are tens of thousands of years old, much older than most people might think. The mystery of China's pyramids leaves us in awe, but it's just one of the many wonders hidden beneath its surface. In a quiet village, the search to uncover bottomless ponds revealed one of history's most astonishing underground marvels. Number 8. Longu Caves. In 1992, in the small village of Xiuning in eastern China's Zhejiang province, something extraordinary was found. This quiet farming area, set along the scenic Qiu River, hid a secret beneath its mountain. While the mountain itself was not particularly remarkable, it was home to several oddly shaped ponds, many of which were perfectly rectangular. These ponds were always full of water, and locals had used them for as long as they could remember. The villagers called them the bottomless ponds, because no matter how hard they tried, no one could ever find the bottom. For generations, the villagers had used long bamboo poles to measure the ponds, but the bottom was always out of reach. Despite this, the ponds were full of life, with different kinds of fish swimming in their waters. In the summer of 1992, one villager made an unusual discovery while fishing. He caught a massive fish weighing over 30 pounds, something that shocked everyone. The size of the fish raised questions about just how deep the ponds really were. This particular villager, who was already known for his curiosity, decided it was time to solve the mystery of the bottomless ponds. He convinced 3 other villagers to help him drain one of the ponds, believing they could finally uncover its secrets. They pooled their money and bought a water pump, setting out on what would be an unforgettable journey. On June 9, 1992, they started the task of draining the pond. They worked around the clock, taking turns to operate the pump, hopeful that their efforts would reveal the truth. After 5 days of constant pumping, the water level dropped enough to reveal something incredible: stone steps leading down into the pond. This was a shocking discovery, but it only fueled their determination. Realizing they were onto something big, they bought more pumps and continued draining the water for 17 days straight. Slowly, the water receded, revealing a grand entrance to what appeared to be a man-made cave. The villagers were astonished to discover that what they had thought were ponds were actually the tops of massive underground structures. What they had uncovered was a series of enormous ancient caves, now known as the Longu Caves. There were 24 caves in total, although 14 of them had collapsed. The 10 that remained were extraordinary. Each cave had perfectly flat floors and ceilings with angles measured at a precise 45 degrees. While the caves were not directly connected, their floors were all at the same level, and some were only separated by walls as thin as 20 inches. The caves were huge, with large chambers cut deep into the earth. The craftsmanship was impressive, the walls were smooth, and the entire structure showed a level of skill and engineering that was hard to believe for an ancient society. The caves even had channels and pools, indicating the builders had a deep deep understanding of how to manage water. Despite being thousands of years old, the caves were in remarkable condition, with no signs of debris or sediment inside. One of the most puzzling aspects of the caves was the lack of any evidence of fire. There were no traces of soot or smoke on the walls or ceilings, something one would expect in such a large and dark underground space. Each cave was massive, covering an average of 11,000 square feet, with some reaching heights comparable to a 10-story building. Altogether, the caves spanned an area similar to 3.5 city blocks. Experts estimate that without modern tools, carving out these caves would have taken hundreds of years, and that's not even counting the intricate details that adorn the walls. Such an enormous undertaking suggests that an ancient ruler or powerful figure must have sponsored the work. Yet strangely, there is no mention of these caves in any ancient Chinese records. This is particularly odd, given China's long history of detailed record-keeping. Another mystery was the strange marks found on the walls. The markings were uniform and consistent, all angled at 60 degrees. They looked almost identical to marks made by modern machines, leading some to believe that advanced technology was used to build the caves. When compared to the patterns left by modern drills, the resemblance was uncanny. This raises the question, did the builders of the Longu caves have access to technology similar to what we have today? Calculations suggest that the creation of these caves would have required the removal of millions of cubic meters of rock. Given that sandstone weighs about 3 tons per cubic meter, the total weight of the excavated material would have been enormous, adding up to millions of tons of rock. What's even more baffling is that no evidence of this removed rock has been found anywhere near the caves. Normally, such a large-scale excavation would leave behind huge piles of debris, similar to the spoil heaps seen near modern mining sites, but there are no signs of this in the area around the Longu caves. It's as if the rock simply vanished. Even more mysterious is the lack of any trace of the people who built the caves. There are no remains of villages, work camps, or burial sites nearby. Altogether, the Longu caves represent one of the greatest puzzles in ancient history. The sheer size, precision, and scale of the caves are enough to leave experts scratching their heads. Who built these massive structures? How did they do it? And why? These are questions that remain unanswered, adding to the enduring mystery of the bottomless ponds that once hid the Longu caves from the world. Moving on, the next structure presents an even greater mystery, a single stone block weighing 16,000 tons, cut with precision that defies explanation. How did ancient builders achieve this impossible feat? Number 7. The Yangshan Quarry. The Yangshan Quarry, located just outside Nanjing, China, is a place full of ancient mysteries that leave modern experts scratching their heads. The most baffling object here is a gigantic stone block weighing around 16,000 tons, making it the largest stone ever cut by humans. To put this into perspective, it is more than 13 times heavier than the largest known block at Baalbek, Lebanon, which weighs 1,200 tons. The sheer size of this stone leaves us wondering how anyone, even today, could have moved such a massive block. With all of our advanced machines and technology, moving a stone this size would be next to impossible. So the question remains, what kind of tools or technology did the ancient builders have to move such enormous stones? This massive stone in Yangshan is not the only mystery. It looks like tons and tons of rock have been removed from the quarry, leaving smooth, towering walls behind. This means that whoever worked here wasn't just able to cut and move the stones, they did it on a huge scale. But the mystery doesn't end there. How these stones were cut and shaped is also a source of wonder. There are huge square holes at the bottom of the big stone, which seem like they were meant to help lift the block when it was ready to be moved. The precision of the cuts and the smooth surfaces at the site are far more advanced than what we think ancient civilizations were capable of. The sharp, straight grooves and the massive size of the block suggest these people had a mastery over stonework that we can't fully explain. And the weathering on the stone shows it's incredibly old, possibly even older than 8,000 years. The site also has other massive structures, some with perfectly carved square holes, which would have been nearly impossible to create using simple bronze tools. The exactness of the 90-degree angles and the way the material was removed puzzle researchers to this day. One of the most puzzling features of the structures is the large knobs on the stones. These protruding knobs are found at other ancient sites around the world, suggesting that many early builders used the same techniques, or that the knobs had some deeper meaning. You can find similar knobs on giant stones in places like Peru, especially around Cusco, and even at the Giza Plateau in Egypt. Egypt, where the famous pyramids stand. The Menkaure pyramid, in particular, has stones with these knobs. Historians have long thought these knobs were used to help lift the stones with ropes, but when you look at the massive blocks at Yangshan, it's clear that there must have been another reason for them. Another question that remains is why so many gigantic stone blocks around the world seem to have been left unfinished, still sitting in the quarries where they were cut. At Baalbek, Lebanon, the Trilithon, 3 enormous stones, each weighing about 800 tons, make up part of the foundation of the Temple of Jupiter. While the temple itself was built by the Phoenicians, Greeks, and Romans, the giant foundation stones belong to a much older, unknown time. These huge stones were cut and placed with incredible precision, fitting together perfectly. Next to them lies an even bigger stone, called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, which weighs even more and was never moved from the quarry. Like the Yangshan quarry, Baalbek shows marks on the stones that look just like tool marks left by ancient builders. Strangely, similar marks have been found in Petra, Jordan, where stone formations dating back as far as 7000 BC show grooves that match the ones at Yangshan. Even though the rock types are different, the patterns are almost identical, suggesting that these ancient civilizations had similar techniques, even though they were separated by great distances. Modern comparisons with machine-made marks show surprising similarities, hinting that ancient builders might have used tools and methods as advanced as ours today. More mysteries can be found in Egypt, particularly at the Aswan Quarry, where a gigantic slab of granite, about 137 feet long and weighing over 1,100 tons, remains unfinished. The surface of the granite shows strange hollowed-out areas, making it look as if the stone was scooped away, almost as if melted or shaped by some unknown tool. In another quarry in Egypt, the Minya Quarry, a giant limestone block also lies unfinished, still attached to the bedrock, as if work was suddenly stopped. The fact that work on these massive stones was abandoned raises more questions. Many researchers think that some kind of ancient disaster might have caused builders around the world to leave their projects unfinished. The idea of a global event that ended the work of these advanced civilizations is a theory that some support, as it seems too much of a coincidence that so many ancient quarries show signs of sudden abandonment. While the stones at Yangshan Quarry left us in awe, the mysterious artifacts found in the next location leave us even more captivated. Number 6. Guangan Pit. Back in 1986, some construction workers in the city of Guangan, China, stumbled upon something that would turn out to be one of the most amazing finds in history. They discovered 2 large pits filled with hundreds of artifacts, including masks made of bronze and gold, statues, figurines, and other items made of marble and jade. What they had uncovered belonged to an ancient civilization that had been lost for thousands of years. Experts say these artifacts are around 3,000 to 5,000 years old, putting them in the same era as the early civilizations of Sumer and Egypt, who were among the first advanced cultures in the world. This newfound culture was later named Sangxing Dui, which means the 3-star mounds, based on the ruins where the artifacts were uncovered. In total, about 13,000 items were found, including over 1,200 pieces made from bronze, 543 made from gold, and 565 from jade. One of the most fascinating objects found was a bronze box with a lid shaped like a tortoise, handles designed like dragon heads, and bronze ribbons attached. Other standout finds included a large bronze sacrificial altar, a giant bronze mask, and a bronze statue that had a human head but a body shaped like a snake. The giant mask was especially impressive, measuring around 4.5 feet wide and about 2.5 feet tall. Another incredible piece was a 9-foot-tall bronze statue with holes in the hands, suggesting it once held something. The bronze heads found at the site were particularly eye-catching, with large eyes and ears, giving them a very unusual look. Some people believe that the Sangxing Dui civilization wasn't even part of the Chinese culture, as their artifacts are unlike anything else found in China. The pieces are not just unique in design, but also show a high level of craftsmanship, indicating that the people who made them were incredibly skilled in working with metals. This is surprising for a culture that existed at least 5,000 years ago. Even stranger, many of the artifacts were broken and had signs of being burned. This could mean that the items were intentionally damaged and burned before being buried, or it might point to a disaster that wiped out the civilization, leaving their creations in ruins. The masks and statues stand out not just because of their odd facial features, but also because of the amount of detail and skill that went into making them. To create such detailed pieces, the people must have had advanced knowledge of working with metals, which is quite impressive for such an ancient time. Whoever these people were, their sudden disappearance is one of the biggest mysteries of history. Moving on from the Guangan pit, the next structure we'll explore is all about a legendary general. Number 5. Guanlin Temple. Nestled near Luoyang in Henan province, the Guanlin Temple is a site rich in history and cultural significance. It is widely believed to be the burial place of Guyaju, a legendary general celebrated for his loyalty, bravery, and wisdom in Chinese history and folklore. Over the centuries, the temple has become a symbol of reverence and remembrance, attracting countless visitors who come to pay their respects. What makes the Guanlin Temple truly fascinating is the possibility that its origins go back much further than commonly thought. While it is recognized as a memorial site, some experts argue that parts of the structure might predate Guanyu by centuries. This theory suggests that the temple wasn't originally built as a tribute to the general, but may have served other purposes before being repurposed. Adding to the intrigue, some researchers compare the Guanlin Temple to ancient Egyptian tombs. Just as many Egyptian structures were advanced beyond their time, the craftsmanship of the Guanlin Temple seems far too sophisticated for the tools and knowledge available in the Bronze Age. This raises questions about who the real architects were and what kind of forgotten knowledge they possessed. Number 4. Huashan Grottoes. About 100 miles north of Xuning, you'll find another set of mysterious caves, the Huashan Grottoes. Nestled near the Yellow River, these grottoes consist of 36 separate caves. They share many similarities with the Longu caves, especially when it comes to their impressive size and the precise craftsmanship involved in creating them. The grottoes are not just a bunch of holes in the ground, they are an architectural wonder. The large, open spaces, winding passageways, and detailed carvings all show a level of skill that's hard to believe. Just like the Longu caves, one of the biggest mysteries of the Huashan Grottoes is the amount of rock that was removed to create them. The total amount of rock taken out is mind-blowing, measuring in the millions of cubic feet. Yet, oddly enough, there's no sign of the debris anywhere. Normally, when large amounts of rock are dug out, the leftover rubble is piled up nearby. But in this case, it's as if the rock simply disappeared. Experts estimate that carving out the Huashan Grottoes would have required a huge workforce and taken a long time to complete, likely hundreds of years if done without modern tools. The people who built these caves clearly had advanced knowledge of engineering, especially when it came to creating large spaces deep underground. However, just like with the Longu caves, there are no written records or historical documents that explain who built the grottoes, why they were built, or how long the project took. Adding to the mystery, many parts of the Huashan Grottoes remain unexplored to this day. The lack of information only deepens the intrigue, leaving researchers to wonder who the builders were and what their purpose might have been. As we move on from the Huashan Grottoes, the next site presents a massive, intricately carved entrance and the puzzling theory behind its construction. Number 3. Hain City Fortress. High up on a steep lower slope sits the mysterious Hain City Fortress, hidden away in a location that makes it hard to spot unless you know exactly where to look. Deep gorges surround the fortress, making it practically invisible unless you're searching for it. Surprisingly, even the people who live nearby don't know much about its history. It wasn't until an elderly man named Hu June, who had lived in the area for 80 years, helped guide people to the fortress, that the secrets of this place started to come to light. His deep understanding of the land was crucial in revealing the paths that lead to this ancient and forgotten fortress. Once inside the Hain City Fortress, the land opens up in a way that reminds people of the shape of an ancient ark. Long ago, people lived in caves along the walls of the fortress, but time has worn them away, leaving only the plateau and the large gate. When historians first stumbled upon the fortress, they suggested that it was built by the local villagers. These villagers were described as simple farmers, untrained in battle and without the means to defend themselves, so the theory was that they had built the fortress to hide from bandits. However, this explanation doesn't quite add up when you take a closer look at the place. One of the most striking features of the Hain City Fortress is its enormous 30-foot high doorway, which can be seen from far away. The sheer size and scale of this structure raised doubts about the idea that it was just a quick hideout for farmers. If it were only a place to escape danger, why would they have built such a grand entrance? The more people examined the fortress, the more they began to question the original theory. Just like the other caves we've talked about, the caves at Hain weren't naturally formed. They were carefully carved out of the rock, showing the same level of precision seen in places like the Longu caves and the Huashan Grottoes. The marks left behind suggest that advanced tools were used to carve the fortress, tools that seem out of place for the time period the historians had originally assigned to the villagers. These tool marks are eerily similar to those found in other mysterious sites across the region, hinting that whoever built the Hain City Fortress may have had access to some sort of advanced technology, just like the creators of the other cave cave systems. In many ways, the Hain city fortress challenges the simple explanations historians first came up with. The size, the detailed carving, and the strange marks all suggest that there is more to this place than meets the eye. As researchers continue to study the site, they're beginning to wonder if the fortress was part of something much larger and more complex than just a place to hide from bandits. Like the other caves we've discussed, the Hain city fortress holds on to its secrets, leaving us to question who really built it and why. As we leave behind the puzzling Hain city fortress, another site of equal mystery awaits in Beijing. Number 2. Guyaju Caves. Another mysterious place is the Guyaju Caves, often called China's largest cliff dwelling. This ancient cave complex was discovered in 1984 and includes an impressive 117 caves and about 350 chambers. The caves are spread out over 25 acres, which is about 100,000 square meters. The size and scope of this place are astonishing and show the incredible skill and hard work of the people who built it long ago. The caves are located roughly 50 miles northwest of Beijing and are carved directly out of solid granite, which is no easy task. This alone tells us that whoever made these caves had advanced technical knowledge and tools. Just like in other ancient structures, you can see the same kind of strange marks on the surface of the rock, adding to the mystery surrounding this site. One of the things that make the Guyaju Caves so puzzling is the fact that no one knows exactly when or why they were built. No historical records mention the caves, and there is very little archaeological evidence that can be used to figure out their exact age. This leaves experts scratching their heads, unsure of who created this incredible place and what it was originally used for. The caves are arranged in a way that makes them look like a honeycomb, with chambers carved into the rock. These chambers are divided into what seems like two separate clusters, almost like two distinct villages. The design of the chambers is varied. Some are square, others are rectangular, and a few are circular. Some of the chambers are small, while others are larger and have multiple rooms spread across different levels. This setup is similar to ancient cave dwellings found in other parts of the world, like Turkey, Italy, and Spain. What makes the Guyaju Caves even more impressive is the level of detail inside. The builders carved out doorways, windows, beds, stoves, flues, lampstands, and storage spaces, all out of stone. This shows that the people who lived here weren't just skilled in carving, but also had a good understanding of domestic life and how to make their homes comfortable. One of the most interesting features of the Guyaju Caves is the drainage system. The builders clearly knew how to manage water and built channels to drain excess rainwater. This shows they understood how to live sustainably in the environment they were in. The cave's design is thoughtful and complex. The walls are consistent in thickness, and the chamber sizes vary, with some parts of the caves resembling multi-story buildings. The caves even had stone staircases, ladders, and bridges connecting different levels, making it easier to move around. Roofs were carved with slots that would collect rainwater, which is another example of the advanced planning that went into these structures. One of the most remarkable parts of the complex is the Guantanzi, which means the Golden Temple. It's the largest structure within the cave system and stands out because of its size and design. The Golden Temple has 8 rooms spread over 2 floors, with stone pillars that were carefully carved, a large central bed, and stone furniture. Some people believe that this building was either the home of a leader or an important religious site, possibly a place of worship for the people who lived there. Despite decades of study and preservation, there's still so much we don't know about the Guyaju Caves. Archaeologists estimate that the caves were built between 1,000 and 2,000 years ago, but these dates are mostly guesses. Some researchers even believe that the caves are much older than that. Whatever the true story is, the Guyaju Caves remain one of the most intriguing and mysterious ancient sites in China. Now we move from the Guyaju Caves to a pyramid-shaped structure that raises questions about ancient global connections due to its striking similarities with Mesoamerican pyramids. Number 1. Tomb of the General. Located in Jian, Jilin province, the Tomb of the General is another enigmatic site that has left historians scratching their heads. Part of the Goguryeo Tombs complex, this pyramid-shaped structure is unlike anything else in East Asia. While the Goguryeo kingdom is credited with using the tomb, many believe it existed long before their time, repurposed rather than constructed by the kingdom. This ancient pyramid is especially unique because it defies the typical design of burial sites in the region. Most tombs in China and Korea are rounded mounds abounds, but this one features a stepped pyramid structure. Its broad base narrowing to a pointed top draws comparisons to the pyramids of Mesoamerican civilizations like the Aztecs and Mayans. The similarities go beyond appearance. Both the Tomb of the General and Mesoamerican pyramids share advanced engineering techniques, precise alignment with astronomical events, and tiered designs. These striking resemblances challenge the notion that ancient cultures developed independently. How could civilizations separated by thousands of miles and no known contact create structures so alike? The Tomb of the General raises profound questions about ancient knowledge, architectural traditions, and potential global connections. Who were the original builders of this pyramid? What inspired its unique design? And could it hint at a shared cultural or technological lineage we have yet to uncover? These questions keep the mystery alive, ensuring this ancient site continues to captivate and inspire curiosity. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.